All right. Season 2, Playing Through.
Let's go.
We got a new set. We got new people. We got a whole packed 2025 coming. Our first guest here, my boy Jay. We're going to have you introduce yourself in a second. But just a lot of things to look forward to this year. We got a lot of changes, a lot of growth. We are going to start putting this stuff on YouTube. We'll continue on all of our platforms, but we just have some big things going. And so I'm excited to bring you on board. I wanted to get you on here, introduce you, get into your background. Your story's awesome. I've just met Jay recently in the last couple of months, and just an incredible man. Everything that we stand for with our missions and values of Playing Through, and to have you on as a new team member with us, we're blessed, and we'll talk about why. But yeah, introduce yourself.
Oh, my name is Jay Gonzalez, Jason Gonzalez, but we're going by Jay. Just moved up here to Northern California from Los Angeles back in last summer in August. Here with my wife and our 8-year-old son, and we're decided to come up here for family. And I know we're going to get into it. And in a nutshell, that's me.
Yeah, sick. So we met in a dad's group. Our kids go to the same school. And what's unique about this group is it's a bunch of men that are either, super successful in their careers or entrepreneurs or just super in the creative mode, right, of life. It's kind of a diverse group of guys. And what I love most about it is that they're challenging us to be better men, better fathers, better husbands, and just kind of grow in that facet of life together, right? We're not alone. And so one of my favorite things about what we're doing is that we do it together, and there's plenty of events we're a part of, plenty of things that we get out and do. We hosted our own glow ball event the other night, which was pretty sick.
Really awesome. Good turnout.
Yeah, we had a lot of guys come out to that, and it was just cool to have the community that we're growing be a part of what we're doing. I think that's one of the focuses this year, is to really come out and host more events, have things going, take this across the U.S., and not just stick with golf, but other sports, other things that bring more men to what we're doing. Super encouraged by that. And so one of the things too is that you and I were talking and about what we're doing with this podcast and our format and everything else. And you looked at me and you're like, bro, I used to work in Hollywood. I'm like, well, one of our needs is video now. Like, we got to figure this stuff out. Like, I don't know what I'm doing out here. I know what I can do and what I offer, and it's not any of the technical stuff. And so maybe give us a little rundown on kind of what your background is in the film industry.
Sure. I started in film production back in 02, late 02, almost 03. Started from the bottom as a production assistant. A couple years doing that, learning the business, meeting people, networking, making connections. I joined Local 80, which is the local union for Los Angeles grips and craft service. They're a part of that union as well. And many years of that, I was on a rigging crew for Grey's Anatomy for a couple seasons, and I would work primarily branded content, commercials. Done a lot of music videos in the beginning as well, but everything from feature films, television, music videos, primarily commercials, and some fun projects for friends and stuff like that. So as a grip and second and first assistant cameraman, I've been in the business and learning how it goes from all aspects, from the bottom to the top.
And now you're changing roles up. So now you're doing some voiceover acting and some stuff like that. Maybe share a little bit of that.
Sure, very new for me. And that kind of ties into to my family, first and foremost. Deciding to switch things up. It's my wife. She's not in Hollywood. She's a physical therapist and a health coach. And my business, her business, we were ships passing in the night, and decided that we were missing out on our life and our young child, and decided to make a change. And leaving Hollywood, you don't pursue film outside of Hollywood. I mean, you could potentially be successful, but this is the Mecca. That's where you go. So I had to figure something out. How will I stay in the business without having to be in Hollywood?
And that's kind of our blessing of having you on our team is you're coming with so much experience. You have all of the tools and the background to help us out. But it's kind of cool to see the change that you've made was really what attracted me. Is like, okay, this guy gave up everything. You gave up your way of life down there, right? It's Northern California and Southern California. For those of you that don't know, is they could be two separate states. They probably
Mhm.
should be.
Totally.
Um, but it's but you're leaving your friend base, your core group of guys, that you had built up down there. What was that like for you?
Both my wife and I spent over 2 decades, 24 and 23 years down there. And we had a massive network of friends, and we loved our home that we had recently purchased a few years prior to us moving here. Um, and funny enough, a lot of my friends had, you know, in LA. It's funny, you have five friends all over town, but generally only hang out with the guys who live pretty close to you because it's so hard to get around.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I'm lucky enough. We were in the South Bay in Redondo Beach and Torrance, by the beach, and luckily a lot of my boys, we all had children at the same time, mostly boys at that. So we were, and it really didn't matter. We were all hanging out as families. These are really solid families, really solid people that got to know through the years, being single, newlyweds, without children, new parents, and we got to go through all those experiences together. So to leave that was challenging, and new adventures for me are fun. So this has been fun, and it didn't really settle in until I've been here for about 7 months now, where I'm feeling like, well, I don't have a network, even though I met you guys, and I've been invited to some killer events and the Global Golf Tournament Challenge. That was awesome. A UFC fight. Invited to go snowboarding all the time, and I'm finding community, and that's very important. But yeah, leaving that network and leaving my safety and my zone and everything I know. I know LA like the back of my hand, and um, leaving that was challenging.
When you didn't even leave LA for like the Bay Area, right? It's not like that kind of transfers a little bit as
Hmm.
far as like the fast pace of life,
Hmm.
the traffic,
Hmm.
and more of the lifestyle. You're up here, where we're based out of is in the foothills of the Sierras, right? Close to Tahoe. We're only an hour away from South Lake Tahoe. And so that's a complete life change. Like it's the style and everything else. You kind of slowed down, would you say?
I would, and that was intentional. And I'd like to say we are living our intent. We are truly came to settle down, and settle down came to slow it down.
Mm.
And I like to call this God's country. There's beautiful pines and evergreens, and we're an hour and 15 minutes from South Lake Tahoe, and this it doesn't get more beautiful than this, and that's why you guys from Northern California don't come down here. Come down there and tell us that.
Yeah, don't want to flood the area,
Nope.
right? Yeah,
No, don't worry. I'm
exactly.
not. Don't worry. I won't. Until this goes down on YouTube. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not telling anybody.
It's definitely different. It's it's
Yeah.
it's uh it's a different pace of life up here, like you said. Like yesterday, we had this whole deck was covered in what looked like snow, but it was hail.
Yeah.
The whole golf course was completely white. And then now here we are sitting in 60-degree weather.
Unbelievable.
It's almost time to start playing golf again.
Yep. Oh, we'll squeeze it in. I've been squeezing in through these rainstorms, and it's
Yeah,
for sure.
getting lucky on what day you pick, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's the vibe. You leave in the traffic, and as I said, great network of people. We loved our neighborhood. We loved our home. There are great people in Los Angeles. I have nothing bad to say about Los Angeles. Love it. It's home. Um, but since I've been here, I noticed everybody I meet, no matter what they look like or whatever it is, everybody has welcomed me here. Welcome to Placerville. Welcome to Northern California. Welcome to the neighborhood. I get that from everybody, which is awesome.
So that kind of brings me into this first question here is for guys that live up here, and we've seen a ton of stuff in the news recently as far as LA is concerned. And we know a lot of that's, perception and some other things going on in politics. We don't get into politics on here, but it's my biggest question is like what we're striving to do with our kids and the podcast and everything. It's about breaking stigma. It's about bringing back the masculinity, right? But also being vulnerable and working through the things that we're going through in life. How do you see that in Hollywood? Like the people that you're around out there, the culture, everything else. Like, um, is it as so intense? Eh, You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think it's what is it that is about Hollywood that just is Hollywood? Like, what's that like?
It's competitive, very, very competitive. Most of these people are working freelance. You're only as good as your last day on the job, right? You don't know where your next gig is coming from. You get good enough, and you're the guy who's taking 2 calls, 3 calls a day that's already booked, and say, sorry, I'm not available for this one. Hit me on the next one. Or there's spells, there's the up and downs, there's the ebbs and flows where you don't know where your work's coming from next week, and you've just worked a 25-day month and you gassed, but you can't relax because all you're doing is worrying about where it's coming from next. So with that, I feel it's so competitive. There's no time to slow down because there's somebody else on your heels ready to take work and moving towards it fast. And these people are very motivated. They have training, and they very motivated. They well, I find a lot of the successful people in Hollywood have done this. Are the kids who are shooting films with their parents' camcorders back in the day, and have dressing up their dogs and their friends, making their grandma be in their movie and stuff like
Yeah.
that. These are the people who become very successful
The
in
Paris
Hollywood.
Hiltons of the world.
Well, yeah.
That Chihuahua was pretty famous.
Yeah, exactly. But it's very fast paced, just as a city in general. But the business aspect makes it even that much more. And then you add the celebrity aspect on top of that.
Mhm.
In life, we all are guilty of it. Nobody, and I like to say, you want to impress me, show me paying your bills at your kitchen table and post that on Instagram. We don't do that. I'm going to show you where I'm at on vacation. I'm going to show you me snowboarding with my son, or I don't post food. I never posted food, but like, look, restaurant I'm at. So it's everybody's trying to live the life, and with that, you can get lost,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Matt.
No, go ahead.
So, I mean, you touched a little bit on the mental health aspect regarding the shift you made from LA, and you've talked a little bit about the good side of it, being that you're slowing down, being intentional around it. What about the mental health side of it for you as the transition for what you left and transitioning to? What's been hard? What's been difficult?
It's funny. It's interesting you say. It's something I never really thought of. I'm a part of that stigma group. Men, we're tough. Men, like, brush it off, get on your feet, and let's go. Um, that's proof. I proved myself wrong in that. For me, it didn't really hit until pretty recently. I've been up here 7 months, almost 8 months now, and it's the little things. It's the being able to pop into a buddy's house on my way home from work, or if I need to get out the house, we go pop into this buddy's house, and that really helped. And I didn't realize that until I got here. I don't have that. We we're with each other. We're having breakfast together. We're having dinner together. We play board games at night. Stuff we never had time to do. It was always wake up, lunch, school, work, come back, homework, dinner, lunch, repeat. You know how it
Yeah.
goes. And it's funny. We left here, and we did slow down. And then as I'm dropping our son off to school, meeting the parents, I feel like everybody else is in a rat race, like as if we were in LA. And I've had to realize that everybody's in the rat race, no
Mhm.
matter where you are. It's not just in these big cities. So I feel fortunate. But as far as the mental aspect, I lack the community, and that's the thing that I'm finding is what is helping is our men's group, and getting together with like-minded men, who I realize we're all going through the same stuff.
Yeah.
So that helps, and I'm seeking more of that.
Speaking of going through this stuff, the other day, you and I were hanging out and um, showed me some battle scars.
Mm,
And those came from some motorcycle accidents.
mhm.
Let's talk about those real quick because I think it's those are the moments in life. Like we all have our traumas, right? We all have specific events in our life that come full circle and kind of we're forced to live with that. But it also other decisions come out of that, and so um, primarily the leg. Let's talk about that crash.
Okay, I'll talk about the legs. So I
It
was
looked for
Since
those
you
of you
asked.
obviously he's not wearing shorts, but the guy looks like he got attacked by a shark while surfing out in Redondo Beach.
for sure. It's pretty bad. They were going to amputate it, but my mom made a phone call as I was on the way to the hospital. I got into a motorcycle accident in 1998, head-on collision with a car going 65 miles an hour, and new rider, new bike. I had slipped, the back wheel had slipped. I should have let the bike go and slid out, but I wanted to save it, brought it up, and wobbled over into a car that was stopped in a left turn lane. Um, I thought about this question. You sent me these questions. I was kind of thinking about how I'm gonna say these, and um, my brother happened to be the first one on the scene, so called my mom. My mom made a phone call. They were going to amputate my leg. I was a 20-year-old kid. They figured I had no insurance or whatever it was, but my leg was saved. I thought about this for a while last night, thinking in life, like you said, like things happen and you're forced to make other decisions or do things. I I truly feel that this needed to happen to me. I'm pretty buck wild as a kid, no limit, love popping wheelies on motorcycles. And when I worked at Grey's Anatomy, one day I went 156 miles an hour. I'd have to be on set at 6 a.m. So about 5:30, I'm on the 10 freeway, nobody there.
Is on the bike.
On the bike, I saw 156 on the dash, and my crazy head, every morning I went to work, I had to see 156 on the dash. And this is after my motorcycle accident in 98. Needless to say, while working at Grey's Anatomy in 2010, I got into another motorcycle accident. So um, I, I guess I didn't slow down that much. But had I not, I wanted to join the Marine Corps. And after my leg healed up, I tried. They wouldn't have me. And Lord knows what would happen to me. And so I truly feel that we are on a path. Um, we're in a path, whether we're steering or not. Um, there's a plan for us, and I just started figuring that out through my journey finding Jesus Christ. So, and with that, I feel like all these things that happened to me slowed me down, made me think, things that I'm not able to do, and things that I also am very impressed with myself that I'm able to do. I know a lot of people with leg injuries, or injuries, period, that your body will just go because it's hard to work out and it's hard to be active. So you're like, hey, well, I'll just do other shit.
Yeah.
Versus I didn't. I chose to push through my pain and try to be involved in anything and everything I could with the normal folk, without injuries.
Yeah.
Speaking of your faith, so one of our follow-ups and what we try and do with this is to give people tools in their toolbox, right? Whether that's faith or recovery groups or whatever they're going through, how they got through those moments in life and how they develop routines in their life of working through their stuff, right? Their things and a lot of us, our name is playing through, right? In golf, that's you just keep playing through it, right? You go play through the next group or whatever, but you have athletes, you have men in general in their careers that just get lost in work. They get lost in something so they don't have to deal with this, right? What have you developed routine wise or coping mechanism wise? Like what has helped you with all that mentally?
Community, a great sense of community, and that was early on with my accidents and kind of. And this is, I'm out of my accident in 2010. I lost the use of my left hand for 3 years. Just went completely limp immediately after this car hit me, and I hit the windshield and killed my radial nerve. Um, so a lot of support through that. Most recently, with the whole change in my life, a huge change in my life, career, location, um, gone from everyone in my network. I've started a journey to develop a relationship with God and Jesus Christ, and that's helped, and my current routine is helping me more than anything that ever has in my life, and I'll explain it really quickly. Before I wake up, before I open my eyes in the morning, I thank God for the day. I thank him for his grace and his mercy, and then I ask him to let me give everybody I interact with that day the same grace and mercy he gives me. And through that, this is the people who cut you off on the freeway. This is your children who piss you off, and your wife who, she might want to wring your neck, and so with that, we get so much grace. I'm going to speak for myself. I've had more grace than anybody I've ever known in my life. I am either the luckiest guy or God likes me a little bit more or whatever it is, but
You're blessed.
I am blessed, and I know I am. And for years there's get angry, and there's envy, and you see people doing things, and you get set back from injuries, and you're starting all over again. And I find being grateful and staying really connected to Christ has helped. Not really me. It's definitely helping me, but it's helping everybody I interact with, and it's only bringing good into my life. So my routine is before I open my eyes, I thank God.
That's awesome. And I really love too that this routine that you have specifically that you do every single morning, it starts your day with the right mindset.
Yep.
It starts your day. You're not waiting until you hit a bumpy road or a bumpy patch to then go, okay, I'm going to stop and try to go through this routine or ritual or whatever it is that you got going on. But you're starting your day with the right mindset.
And that's very important, because I did try. I would in the moment, like, okay, as I started my journey, okay, take a moment, and that's hard to do when you're in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
as we all know. Emotions are emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you set the intention at the beginning of the day, and it didn't happen right away, but after a couple weeks, a couple months doing this, I noticed that in every moment, this is the first thing on my mind, because I want to follow in that way, and the intent that I set in the morning, and it's so much easier to stay on track, especially as life is coming at you.
So then I'm sorry, Matt.
Oh, go.
I just want to hit on this one last thing here. So Jay, historically beforehand, before you started this routine and incorporated this in your day, can you give us just a very brief overview of, you're still encountering all the same things that you did before you started this, this new routine in the morning. So when it manifests in the middle of the day, someone cuts you off, or maybe you're in the grocery line and, you've got one item and they got 50, and they could let you in front of you to get that one. Small things, right?
Happened the other day.
There we go. Well, I'm glad I brought it up then. So historically, you would have responded one way, potentially in your mind, maybe not outward to that person, but in your mind. So in the moment now, having started your day with this new perspective, how does it manifest, knowing full well that those emotions are still presenting themselves to you? But what's the switch you do in your mind in that moment to go, here's my new perspective?
The new perspective is always keeping grace in my mind. And being originally from New York, moved to LA when I was 24 years old. So I have this fast paced mind and this fast paced way of moving. And up in Placerville, they're not moving like that.
Nobody is.
So this is tried my patience and my personality and who I am more than anything. And in those moments, ask yourself this the next time. In those moments when you get pissed, what happens to you? You get overheated. You might start sweating even a little bit. You're irritated. This is only affecting you.
Mm-hmm.
Only affecting you. You'd be as mad as you want, cussing in the car at somebody to cut you off, but that person's not affected. You. And then from there, what you have a certain attitude now. And then that's gonna trickle in and trickle on throughout the day and the next interaction you might have with somebody. So setting the intention in the morning, it's really in these moments, I ask God to give whoever this person or thing might be some grace, and it's just so peaceful. It's I'm at peace.
That's awesome.
I can sit in a line that should take 5 minutes to get through, for 20 minutes in Placerville.
Yeah.
But I can do that, and I'm quite proud of it because that's not me. I'm not good at that, but I'm getting good at it.
Well, and the majority of people too, they don't know that they've done anything.
No,
Mhm.
You
no,
know, it's oblivious to either out of ignorance or out of just, hey, they just didn't know.
or maybe I'm the only asshole trying to speed through life.
Yep.
You ever think
Yeah.
of that?
Right. Doing 156 in life.
You know, so yes, slowing down. It's getting upset only steals your peace. It only steals your peace, and you're not taking it away from anybody else. You're just taking it away from yourself, and that's kind of what I'm learning here.
How about support groups? And so, and not necessarily groups, but a support system, I guess. I think one of the conversations I actually had with one of our dads, Sean, gave me some really good advice, and was like, "Hey, man, for you guys, like one of the questions that I would want to know is you know who's your person? You know, is there somebody in your life that you can call any time or day, and talk to, get things off your chest, share stuff like if you're feeling a certain way or just struggling with something, or who's that person for you? And then, or first of all, I guess, do you have a person? And second follow up to that would be, who is that person?
I do. I'm very fortunate. Again, the most blessed person I know. I have 3 people. My mom, and I call these people for different things, and I'll explain this briefly. My mom, my brother, and my boy Greg, another person that I consider my brother. Um, when we were young, my brother went to a different school and getting into trouble in the neighborhood, and he knew that Greg, who was his age, would look out for me, and he did. So throughout the years, any bit of trouble, any advice, he's very calm, he's smart, he's a retired master sergeant from the Marine Corps. He's been through a lot. He's a war veteran, and he's very calm, and he talks to me. And whenever I wanted to hear what I wanted to hear, I would call him. He would he'd let me know, but he would never, there's no judgment wherever, or no judgment, never come down on me. And I would never call my brother. But if things got really serious, he would call my brother. And I wouldn't appreciate that. And when I realized that I was trying to duck the truth, and I didn't want to hear what was real. So in the last couple of years, I started calling my brother for both of them. And we talked about it. We go and try to do a yearly snowboard trip. Last year we were in Colorado together, and we talked about it. And as we're getting older, and I've been a dad now for 8 years, I think children change you,
Mhm.
and that's my support system. My mom is just one of the greatest women alive, in my opinion, and she keeps it real with me, and I can keep it real with her. I can tell her anything, and I do. And so between my mom, my brother, and my boy Greg, I have a major support system, and then we FaceTime a lot.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think too, it's like it's your go-to stuff, right? It's like those are the things when life hits you so hard. You know, when that question was proposed to me a few weeks ago, I was like, man, like I have those people, but kind of like you said, like there's a couple different people for different things, right? And we get that we have those people that we tend to go to that will give us the answers that we want, not the answers that we need, right? And I think it's one of my challenges for people listening and for us and everybody we come into contact with is to find those people that aren't going to tell you what you want.
Those are the people
You
that
can
really
tell
want.
yourself what you want
Yeah.
because no matter what, somebody's going to give you advice. You're either going to take it or you're not, right? Well, why would you waste your time asking for advice if they give you something you're like, I don't really want that. You know, I'm going to go do this anyways.
Exactly.
But if we challenge ourselves enough to actually care about what people are seeing in us, and are we going to make that change? If you're not going to make the change, don't ask the damn question. It's a waste of time.
It takes a bit of humility and honesty within yourself. Just as we're all hiding behind our Instagram posts, we hide behind truths, and we'll talk to the people we want to get the answers we want. But at the end of the day, we know who we are, and until we can be honest with ourselves, there won't be much change.
As you've been reinventing yourself and finding this new way of life and and figuring out how to, my calm is my chaos is my calm, right? So coming up here, moving from the Bay up to here is calm, right? And that's where a lot of my intrusive thoughts came through. A lot of my, a lot of things got magnified to me personally. Everybody else around me already knew it, right? I was a mess, but that's when I started realizing, okay, like I got to make some changes here. I got to get some help. I got to go through some things. As you're reinventing yourself right now, what are you doing to help mentally get through stuff like your mental health side? And just, we already talked about some coping mechanisms, but what are some like physical things that you're doing?
Working out. I noticed that, excuse me. I noticed that we get busy. I've been getting busier. I'm talking to my wife the other night. I'm like, I think we're getting back in the rat race here, which is which was not a great thought. But I noticed that if I get busy, I'm about 25 minutes from the gym, 25 miles from the gym. Takes about 20. But if I don't work out, I get irritated a lot easier. So just to keep my head right, like it does way more than for my body, for my muscles. It really works my brain to get that out. So exercising and doing active sports. I love to snowboard, especially with my son and my wife. And other activities. They say my buddy sent me something that says should be very cautious of a man that doesn't need any friends because he needs no validation. I don't feel I need validation from anybody, but I do need friends.
Yeah.
I do. I'm a very social person. I like to be in the mix, and I like to laugh, and I like to joke, and I like to have very serious, meaningful conversations. I've always been the friend to call you out of the blue for no reason. Just, hey man, I'm thinking about you, instead of like, oh, I know, oh man, I should call that person. Well, I do in that moment. And I feel keeping people around and being active. Like I like shooting guns, coming up here, we're talking about guns, talking about going to shoot, and, just all the active stuff. Just being active, being in the sun is,
Thank God.
yeah. Being in the sun and just staying healthy and in shape. I love to eat like crap, and thank God my wife doesn't, or else I'd probably be 40 pounds heavier. But so it's that exercise and getting out and being active. I'm not a video game guy. I can't sit still for it.
No.
And I can't sit on the couch. I do enjoy watching golf and my F1 races on Sundays. So Sundays are kind of cool to hang out and chill out, and that's what I reserve that for.
I can sit and have a cigar out here for a short period of time. I know Chad and I, we met in the cigar lounge, and like those are the moments like, okay, if you're sitting down, relaxed, and then enjoying good conversation, totally different, right? But yeah, getting immersed into a video game is not it for me. I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
I got a
different for some
5-year-old,
people.
and that's what we do to bond sometimes. But
Nothing wrong with it.
yeah, but the thing I like about what you're saying too, not just about being, physically active for the mental release side of it, and then also for your body, but by way of community development too, it's a forcing function. All these opportunities for you to reach out to other guys and create instances where you can come together, whether it's shooting or golf or snowboarding, whatever it is. It also is that relational development that you ultimately are looking for, right? So it's not even just a self-help, resolution, but that key impact that you talked about earlier on is this, the importance of community and the value that it brings to you as an individual. Whether it's, with new guys that you're developing relationships with here, like you said, you go out once a year with Greg and your brother, and you guys are intentional about being together, and that just grows you guys even closer, having those tough conversations and also laughing and joking.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. I love that.
It really is. I found myself not one of my coping mechanisms that were good. I found usually people kind of tend to lean towards things that are not healthy for them in moments of a depression or not feeling so great mentally. I was never that guy. I always, when things are going good for me, I tend to drink a little bit more. because I'm happy. Things are going good. Let's have some cocktails.
Mhm.
And with that, it was a slippery slope for me. So um, I'd be with my family. They're in the house, but being disconnected through alcohol, being able to be in my garage, cleaning a gun, tinkering on some stuff, building something. I was totally fine being away from my family versus once I've completely settled down. I haven't quit drinking or anything, but I intentionally slowed down my drinking, and it's brought me closer to my family because I'm I'm not tinkering. I'm not okay just to sit and drink and tinker um, through boredom
Mhm.
at this point. Not
Mhm.
not just because everything's going right. Um, and with that, going to the gym, I've never been a part of a men's group in my life. I've never done anything. I used to think that was whack. When my boys told me, I was like, going out with a bunch of dudes you don't know. But that ended up being. I mean, it's still evolving to we're sitting here.
It's the right guys.
It's
Mhm.
the right guys, and I feel like God has put once I decided to put the things that the devil wanted me to have in my hand. I feel like God has put people in my life. I bumped into this brother at the gym, and he's been since I met him. Great guy. He's been, he's like, yeah, come hang out with me, brother. He's like, come to the house. And I was just like, I'm from New York originally. I'm like,
Slow
I'm good.
your
Oh,
roll.
yeah, I'm good, dude. I'm good.
Yeah.
And then about a month, I seen him a month or two later. He's like, how you doing? Good. How you doing? Good. Um, and I had mentioned my faith. And he's like, oh man, that's great. What church you go to, this and that. He's like, oh, you got to check out my website. All right, checked out. He sent me a link, checked out his website. He happens to be a spiritual life coach. And this man did 15 years in prison. Supposed to had full rides to college for basketball, supposed to go in the NBA and made some bad decisions. And through that, I could be at home drinking, but no, I'm at the gym, and God's putting people like this guy in my life, even though I'm resistant towards it initially. It's just you don't know what God has planned for you when you decide to put down the bullshit
Mhm.
and you decide to do what's right by your family, by God first, your
Mhm.
family, and by yourself. God's just going to start handing you out blessings like you didn't know.
Love that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
final thought from me is looking at where you're at right now today. What would you tell younger you about, resiliency and just, pushing through in life? Like, what advice would you give younger you?
I feel like I've been pretty resilient my whole life. That's just I feel like I've been resilient. I've had to be. I didn't have a choice. Um, I had a problem with feeling inadequate and inferior to my peers, and I will never like color of skin is just not something I even like talking about. I like joking about it, but we're not. When I don't, there's nothing whole like nobody's held back by any of this anymore. But growing up, I'm born in '78. Growing up in the '80s and going to this girl's house I like, her grandfather answers the door and who's this
Mm.
at my door?
Mm.
And hearing stuff like that, you just and growing up in not in the hood, and then you go back, and then if you're in the hood, if you're doing well or you're trying to do well, you're a sucker, and that'll fuck up a kid's head and a young
Mhm.
adult's head to where you don't know your place or your worth. And I would tell my younger self that I am just as worth it or valuable as anybody I come in contact with, and you should act as such.
Mhm.
I love that because I read DeMar DeRozan, who now plays for the Kings, wrote a book, and he's from Compton, and he speaks a lot about that. And that book was because he talks about depression and some other stuff, and it's like, for someone of his caliber coming up, you know, out of that area and, certain neighborhoods out there, right? It's like you're not gang banging. You're trying to, you have friends that are, and you're losing friends in the gang, right? In that lifestyle. And you're trying to push forward to this other dream that you have, like being caught up in that is you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? And it's both sides think you're weak at some
Yep.
point. And so I can't imagine, that lifestyle and that
For the
pressure.
individual, yeah, for the individual feeling the pressures of both sides, and you don't know where you stand. Like, you know where you want to be,
Yeah.
and you feel you're not you're not good enough there. You're not good enough here, and I'm lucky enough to where I have enough confidence, to where I did my life. I was able to get through life and succeed and not be held back by this. But I think I could have gotten a lot further had I would have thought of myself higher. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Matt, you got any final thoughts?
Not on that. No. I think it's important, and I appreciate you highlighting that for this show for anybody that's listening to be able to really maybe take a moment after this episode and maybe sit in silence for 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. Doesn't matter however long you think it'll take you to really think it through, but just to really reflect on how do I view myself, and to be able to really articulate to yourself with your thoughts, write it down even. I think that's powerful. And just be able to look at who am I? Who do I think I am? And who do I know I can be, and start changing that mental cycle.
a big part of for me with this is that I I don't have to answer to anybody's expectations. I don't have to live up to anybody's expectations except Jesus Christ.
Mhm.
And that's pretty easy to do I committed myself to God. So with that, there's a sense of power you get when you do that. And I could only tell you from experience that it's so powerful. Um, that once you get that type of power in your head and in your heart, none of this other stuff matters. You're trying to live up to everybody else. You're trying to see your reflection in somebody else's mirror, and that doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
So like you said, sit for a minute. Who am I? Who do I think I am? Who do I want to be? And nobody else in that equation should matter but the Lord and yourself. And you have nobody to answer to but God and your wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Well, I think I'll end on this is that this last week I actually lost two people that I'm close with, and it's kind of crazy because the one guy, um, middle aged guy, um, super awesome, on fire for God, and throughout the years he's always called, checked in, just sent me random text messages of his grandkids, of whatever. My father-in-law, have him as a friend in common, and he had texted me a couple weeks back saying that he was in the hospital. He had a brain bleed. And I was just texting with him and just kind of, hey man, when you get bored, just text me, shoot me a text, whatever. And I'm so mad because it's like I didn't follow through on my end on that. I let life get kind of busy. We just moved and all these other things that are in life happened. And texting him, no response, no response. And I'm like, what the heck? And so my father-in-law texts me, he's like, hey, have you heard from Frank recently? And I'm like, yeah, I talked to him like 2 weeks ago, but let me shoot him a text and see what happens. And the blue bubbles turned to green bubbles. And I'm like, what the heck? And so come to find out, he passed away.
Sorry
He
to hear
had
that.
complications with his surgery and everything else. And so I think my final challenge out of this conversation and just kind of moving forward is be the person that reaches out and contacts those people. Call somebody you haven't talked to in a while. Call anybody, but shoot them a text. Do whatever you have to do to kind of reconnect, because you never know when either A, you're going to go or they're going to go, and you won't have that opportunity anymore. And so I think that's kind of my final push for today's thought, is just to be that person. We talked about who do you call, right? Be that person that somebody calls, and if they don't call them.
Mhm.
There's no problem to do it. One of the things that we always say is you're worth it, right? And we truly believe that. And so much suicide that's happened around me that it's we want you to understand your value. We want you to understand that you are worth it. And if you're thinking about any of those things, just do it tomorrow.
Do it as soon as possible. I've always been the guy I mentioned this, always been the guy to call you randomly. I recently not to get out of time here, but I recently got a call from a friend. We were super tight back in our 20s and went our separate ways in life and stayed in touch. And I would reach out to him a lot more than he would me. His mom recently passed away. He didn't want to talk to anybody. I called him a few times. He sent me a text. He said, "I'm just not ready to talk. Thanks for reaching out." He called me a week ago at 8:30 in the morning, and I was like, what's going on? Thought something could be wrong. Picked up the phone, and we're talking. And I asked him, I was like, "Dude, why'd you call me?" He's like, "In the last 2 months, I've gotten a bunch of phone calls from people checking in on me, but from 5 people. There's, he's another guy with 1,000 friends, and there's only a couple people." And he's like, "You're one of those people that kept reaching out." Um, and that meant a lot. He said it meant a lot to me. And he goes, "At this point in my life, I'm putting in the effort on the people who put effort into me." So my final just statement for that is that call people. You don't know. Everybody's, like you said, you got caught up with life, moved into a new house, kids at school, and you're juggling. We're all juggling a million things. So if just because you're doing something and not getting it reciprocated doesn't mean it's not helpful and it's not heartfelt, and you keep doing it. If it's in your heart to keep reaching out, even though it's not being reciprocated, do that, because it means the world to people. And one day they might thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Jay, thanks
Thanks for having
coming
me.
on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
brother.
you.
Thanks, Jay.
Maddie,
Got it.
it's a good episode, and we're looking forward to having you on and working with us. It's going to be a huge blessing for us.
I'm
so.
very happy to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me. For
Awesome,
sure.
dude. Thanks,
Man,
man.
I pray you get me through. I'm feeling kinda used, and I know you'll make me new. I'm playing through the storm, and I pray this ain't the norm.